Traveling to exotic and beautiful places comes with too high of a price sometimes. Yet the luckiest among the unfortunate survived these 10 unbelievable airplane water landings. From the distant Micronesian islands to one of the Hollywood-worthy water landings on the Hudson River, we brought you the most incredible pilots and the most frustrating emissions. Mechanical errors, corrupt authorities and a company, as well as dumb luck, played a role in our countdown today. Let's get to it. Number 10. Lion Air Flight 904 in 2013. At the 10th spot, we brought you a miraculous landing close to paradise on Earth. Who doesn't want to fly to Bali? It has beautiful beaches, friendly people, and outstanding resorts. Certainly, the passengers of Lion Air Flight 904 were expecting to start their holiday in a very different way. However, they had a different destiny. Luckily for them, the universe had a scary plan for them, but not a tragic one. On April 13, 2013, the Boeing 737-800 crashed into the water short of the runway, with 101 passengers on board and 7 flight crew members. The final investigation report found the crew tried to land in harsh weather conditions. The weather became more violent before the crew could go back, so they had to attempt an emergency landing. Although the plane suffered severe damages, all the passengers and the crew survived. Yet 46 suffered injuries, 4 of them serious. Like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get 1 week good luck for you. Try this, it really works. Number 9. Garuda Indonesia Flight 421 2002. For this spot, we brought you the story of Garuda Indonesia Flight 421 in 2002. Flying to and inside Indonesia was a hazardous deal in the early 2000s. Just recently, the EU lifted a severe ban on Indonesian airlines. Still today, the responsibilities of airlines and aircraft manufacturers in those turbulent years are not entirely clear. January 16, 2002, is a day that brings back to memory one of the many tragic and scary moments of international Indonesian air travel. The flight faced a frightening thunderstorm close to Yogyakarta, its destination. As a result, the plane suffered flameout in both engines and ditched in a shallow river. The crash caused several injuries and the death of 1 person. According to the report, nearby villagers helped the survivors to evacuate the plane. The uninjured passengers went to a nearby empty house with help of the locals. Meanwhile, someone from a nearby town drove the injured to the closest clinic. Number 8. Angara Airlines Flight 9007 2011. Corruption and greed leads to harm eventually. Such was the case of Angara Airlines Flight 9007. A preventable accident reached this spot today. On the 11th of July 2011, Angara Airlines Flight 9007 ditched into the Obi River after suffering an engine fire. The aircraft was an Antonov An 24 turboprop passenger aircraft, a Soviet-era plane that had more than 36 years operating with 48,000 flight hours accumulated. The flight was a domestic service from Tun's to Surrogate, Russia. 7 of the 37 people on board died because of the accident. In 2011, the West Siberian Transportation Prosecution Office stated that the maintenance of the aircraft was not compliant with the Russian regulations, and that the maintenance checks for the magnetic chip detector were noted in the aircraft's tactical log but were never carried out. Number 7. Lawag International Airlines Flight 585, 2002. For Spot, we brought you the story of Lawag International Airlines Flight 585 from 2002. The Philippines is a republic scattered in a lively archipelago where more than 100 million people live. Its largest island, Luzon, is one of the largest globally, as well, with more than 42,000 square miles housing more than 60 million people. Within such a densely populated island, an air crash would be terrible. So when an international flight from Manila to Lawag across Luzon crashed into Manila Bay, everyone feared the worst. On the 11th of November 2002, the Fokker F-27 Friendship, a small passenger aircraft, crashed shortly after takeoff from Minuwa Aquino International Airport. Of the 34 passengers and crew on board, only 15 survived. When the flight crew noticed the plane was having trouble, they decided to return to the airport. Yet it was too late. They tried to ditch a Manila Bay instead, as they realized it was impossible to reach the airport. On January 10, 2003, the Filipino authorities declared that the pilot error was the cause of the crash. According to official reports, the plane's 2 surviving pilots failed to notice that the fuel valves were closed. Number 6. Air Niugini Flight 73 in 2018. The federal state of Micronesia is better known for its warm and sunny beaches and hot, humid weather. Yet at this spot today we brought you shocking water landing near Bueno, which would have easily ended much worse. On September 28, 2018, a Boeing 737 landed short of the runway at Chuuk International Airport. The plane rested in Chuuk Lagoon, a beautiful ladle of 75 square miles, about 6 times the size of Bueno, the largest city around, with a few more than 13,000 people. What would have happened if the plane crashed over the town instead of landing in the water? Locals and small boats rescued most passengers and all the crew members, yet 6 passengers suffered injuries and 1 lost his life. According to local authorities, thunderstorms caused trouble to the flight crew, who did not comply with the Air Niugini Standard Operating Procedure, the approach, or the pre-landing checklists. Number 5. DVA Air Flight 014 2009. Bonaire is one of those endemic destinations we dream of traveling to someday. At this spot, we brought you the story of DVA Air Flight 014, a commuter flight from Sakurako to Bonaire. The small flight carried a pilot and 9 passengers only. On the 22nd of October 2009, the plane ditched in the Caribbean Sea off the coast of Bonaire. The flight usually takes around 30 minutes between Sakurako and Bonaire. When the aircraft left Sakurako at 9:48, everybody expected to land in Bonaire at around 10:13. However, 10 minutes after departure, the starboard engine failed in flight. The pilot, Robert Manziel, chose to continue the flight to Bonaire on the remaining engine. During the ditching, the aircraft lost the cockpit door and the left main landing gear at impact with the water surface. All 9 passengers survived the ditching, and a nearby driver's boat rescued them. The passengers claimed that after the ditching the pilot suffered injuries and lost his conscience. Sadly, the pilot went down with the aircraft despite some of the passengers who tried to remove him from the seat while the airplane was sinking. Number 4. Das Air Cargo 2002. Uganda is a beautiful place. It offers some of the most impressive wild scenarios globally, like the iconic Lake Victoria and the snow-capped Ruwenzori Mountains. For Spot, we brought you the story of an incredible airplane water landing of a cargo aircraft over Lake Victoria. Das Air Cargo DC-1030F freighter and 800WR was heading from Entebbe to London. The plane was carrying over 50 tons of cargo, which makes the landing even more memorable. The plane landed long 4,000 to 5,000 feet down from the 12,000-foot runway. The nose gear touched down 13 seconds after the main undercarriage. The DC-10 couldn't stop and slid off the runway into Lake Victoria, about 100 meters from its southern end. A rescue team on a life raft rescued the crew members within just 10 minutes of the accident. Number 3. The Tinter Flight 1153, 2005. For Spot, we found you the story of Tinter Flight 1153 in 2005. Airplanes are full of tiny details. It shouldn't surprise us, because they enable heavy steel monsters to fly through the air through precise engineering. However, we can't believe how such an obvious detail turned a regular flight into a tragic moment. Tinter Flight 1153 was Tinter Airlines' international flight from Bari, Italy to Jumeirah, Tunisia. On the 6th of August 2005, the flight ditched into the Mediterranean Sea about 18 miles 29 kilometers from Palomar City in Italy. Although the ditching was successful, people got harm. One of the 4 crew members died along with 15 passengers. It's hard to believe, but the cause of the accident was fuel starvation. Unfortunately, the plane had a fuel quantity indicator that belonged to a smaller plane. The fuel readings misled the crew and the operations team, who couldn't manage fuel appropriately. And now get ready for today's best pick. Number 2. Lion Air 2020. We're sad to mention Lion Air a couple of times already. Fortunately, all 108 passengers and crew survived after a new Lion Air jet crashed into the ocean in 2020. The plane snapped in two when it was trying to land on Bali. Yet it isn't surprising that 45 people suffered injuries. The great bit about it is that any of them had severe ones. TV footage showed police and rescuers evacuating the 101 passengers and 7 crew members on rubber boats. Officials initially said that the plane overshot the runway before hitting the water. Still, a spokesman for Lion Air, a low-cost carrier, said that the plane crashed about 50 meters ahead of the runway at a news conference. Number 1. USA Airways Flight 1549 2009. At the first spot, we brought you the story of USA Airways Flight 1549 in 2009. I couldn't believe that a flock of birds could be so dangerous until I learned about this story. On January 15, 2009, US Airways Flight 1549 left New York City's LaGuardia Airport to Charlotte, North Carolina. The plane hit a flock of birds shortly after takeoff. The crew was shocked when they realized they had lost all engine power. They didn't have any airport within reach to try an emergency landing. So pilots Chelsea Schellenberger and Jeffrey Skiles glided the plane to a ditch in the Hudson River off Midtown Manhattan. Boats nearby rescued all 155 people on board alive by nearby ships with a few serious injuries. Later on, this waterland became known as the Miracle on the Hudson. An official working for the National Transportation Safety Board described it as the most successful ditching in aviation history. The pilots and flight attendants received the Master's Medal of Killed Air Pilots and Air Navigators to recognize their heroic and unique aviation achievements. This is the end of our video. You can watch some more amazing videos on our channel here.